Thought I'd bring in the man that was on the last great Utah football team. There have been some good ones, but he was on the last great one, the one that won the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. Mike Wright with us here on the Bill Riley Show. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, Bill, how's it going? Appreciate the intro there.
Yeah, no problem. I think, and we've been hyping this up, and you're all part of it too, but there's a lot of times you'll have good teams, but it's only every so often that you have a great team by program standards. I know Alabama views their great teams. People think they've got a lot of great teams, but by Bama standards, every few years you've got a great team. Same thing at Utah. 04 was a great team. 08 was a great team. There have been some other good ones. Last year was a good team, but I think this team has the potential, Mike, to be great. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I would say everything on paper lines up for the Utes to have an awesome year this year. I mean, you have a lot of guys coming back that have, a lot of experience in competing in, high competition games and important games, and they understand, what it means to be able to compete and stay poised in those situations where that's where experience really helps you be able to do that. And so I think on paper, absolutely is, something that is exciting about this upcoming season, but now it's time to, for them to get into camp and really put the work in to prepare themselves to go into this season with the right mindset. And, the teams that turn into great teams, you have to have the talent, but you also have to be able to execute, and you get some lucky bounces here and there. The 2018, we had some lucky bounces that, some of those didn't go our way. We don't have the type of season that we have. So this time for camp is that time to put in the work to, kind of create your own luck, so to speak, in those situations. So you're prepared and able to execute in those situations. And that's what hopefully, Lloyd's going to get the opportunity to do here coming into camp.
Well, we'll talk about Devin in a minute. I've asked some of your teammates this. I think great teams also have a mindset, and they know they've got the chance to be great. When did you have the sense that your 2008 team was not just a good team but a great team, Mike? Was it before the season? Was it in the season? Was there a moment for you?
Going into the season, I think it's been a tradition started ever since the 2008 season, but Coach Witt had each player write down individual goals as well as team goals, and then it was something that we reviewed each week, and we kind of put a check mark every time that we achieved that goal. And throughout the season, as far as from a team perspective, and throughout the season, we were putting a week after week check marks next to those goals. And so, going into the season, we felt like we could have a good year. We felt really comfortable about how we could compete against everybody on the schedule. But I think for me, it was the Oregon State game where we were down 8 with 3 or 4 minutes left, and Brian Johnson orchestrates a drive to get us that tie game, and then we actually win it in regulation, and with Louis Sakota kicking that field goal to win it. So in a 4-minute span, we turned that into a win in regulation, an 8-point deficit, and when the stadium was emptying out and fans were heading home thinking that we had lost that game. And so I think at that point that was like, hey, we got something special going here, and I think that confidence that we established in that game to be able to execute in that moment was really helpful for TCU when we were in a similar situation where we had to go down and get a score and hold them. And then those 2 games really gave us the confidence going into that Sugar Bowl against Alabama.
Former Utah linebacker Mike Wright with us here on the Bill Riley Show on day 1 of camp. Kyle, what do you remember about day 1 of fall camp? I'm sure it was different from your first fall camp to your last fall camp, but is there any common denominators when you begin fall camp?
It's funny you say that, because the first camp is a completely different mindset to your last camp. So as a freshman and a sophomore coming into camp, you're hoping for any opportunity to prove yourself and establish yourself as a proven guy that can be, given the confidence from the coaching staff to be put into the game. That's what you're hoping to establish during camp. As a junior or senior, or a guy that's expected to be contributing a starter on the field, it's a completely different mindset. It's, hey, how do I improve my craft? How do I stay healthy? And so really, camp is what it is. It's a grind. And depending on, where your spot is in the team, whether you're fighting for playing time or you're trying to or you're that savvy vet that's trying to stay healthy and get ready for the season. It's a different mindset. But it's just a grind. Camp is what it is. You ran a successful camp if you come out without any injuries, and that's what I'm hoping the Utes are able to do.
So
starting day one.
So last year it was kind of a 3 linebacker, 3.5. Donovan Thompson was still around, but it was really Hansen, Barton, and Bernard. And I don't know if you were part of this, but I think a lot of us this time a year ago thought, okay, yeah, Cody's number 1 now, but Francis Bernard will get a few reps and probably jump him and things like that. Well, that never happened. Cody was just an animal, and he's continued that into the NFL. But they were about 3.5 deep last year, Mike. This year coming in, we knew they were about 3 deep with any real experience. It was Bowen, it was Bernard, and then Devin Lloyd. Well, then we get the news last night that Manny Bowen's not playing football this year. What was your reaction when you heard the news, and what do you think that impact is heading into day 1 of camp?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I mean, I was surprised, probably as everybody else, when we got word that Bowen was transferring into the program. It was super exciting. A proven guy at another big-time program was coming in, and you knew that he could be a contributor. So, on the defensive side of things, where you were losing 2 senior guys who really were the anchors of that defense and did a lot of good stuff for the defense last year, that you wanted to have, somebody that had seen some time, had shown some experience, and had that, the athleticism around and the talent. So, excited for a guy like that to come into the program. At the same time, you run into issues with chemistry if you have a guy that, isn't fully committed to football, especially coming into camp. And so I'm not exactly sure what the reason for him not showing up or reporting to camp. Sure, we'll learn more about that from Coach Witt, but it's important that the team has chemistry all throughout camp, and important that guys get reps. Coach Whittingham's defense is complicated. I felt like it wasn't until my sophomore year that I was really comfortable with what was going on out on the field, and that my comfort level was based off just getting reps in practice and getting that experience. So this time that Bowen would have been getting with the 1s or the 2s, throughout camp, now Lloyd is going to be getting the majority of those reps and getting that opportunity to get that experience and get comfortable within the defense. Even though that he's been here for a couple of years, it's still different, and you need those live reps to be able to fully understand all the nuances of the defense as a linebacker. So, I mean, it's sad to see a guy like Bowen go with the talent that he, showed on the field and the depth that it brought. But I think it's, Coach Whittingham and the guys that they've brought into the program, even though they're unproven, they have the athleticism. Now it's kind of their opportunity to pick up the rifle, as Coach Witt says, and really take on that new role, even though that they're unproven. So, I mean, going into my junior year, going into that Sugar Bowl year, we were kind of in a similar situation where the depth was maybe questioned at linebacker. Even though we had Sylvester, who had been a starter before, he had some injuries. I was a guy that had been in the program, but really hadn't seen, full-time reps in a starter role. And then we had Naifotu and then a guy, Kepa Geisen, who was a former punter. And so I don't know if we had those type of storylines going into this season. But I do know that Coach Witt prepares his guys, and he's able to develop talent better than most coaches in the nation. And so it wouldn't surprise me if there's a guy in that linebacker room that we haven't been talking about that will come out and be a big impact type of guy throughout the season.
Well, that's what we'll have to find out. What do you think's going through Devin Lloyd's mind right now? 2 nights ago, he probably thought, well, I'm the 3rd linebacker. Then last night he found out he's the next man up. He's been in the program, as you mentioned, Mike, but he didn't probably have the mindset that he was going to be the starter right now. So what do you think's going through his head?
I think, if he's anything like me, he's excited for the opportunity. It's kind of the maturity level that you go through as you've been in the program longer. It's nice to not have that pressure on you, to have another guy that you're able to learn from and see how he goes about the defense, and just, and have that kind of a fallback or safety net, having another guy out there. But, once he takes that on is that he's the guy, his mindset through practice, his ability in practice to get those reps and get better is going to improve. And just his mindset going into each game week by week will be that much more sharpened as he knows that he's the guy rather than that spell guy throughout the game who might get 15 reps, throughout the course of the game. Now he knows he's going to be that go-to guy, and he's just going to be that much more focused throughout camp and throughout week after week. So I'm assuming he's excited, but it'll be a good opportunity for him.
Well, if he's not excited, there's something definitely wrong. There's no doubt about that. Before I let you go, there's no depth behind him. Sione Lund has never played linebacker in a game probably since high school. I mean, he's never played collegiately. Andrew Mataafa is about 210 pounds soaking wet. He's not real big. Those are your two backups for now on the depth chart. They brought some other guys in, but those are your two guys. I'm curious, how difficult is it? Because we've seen it at other times, but how difficult would it be for a guy like a Mika Tafua situationally to move from defensive end to maybe line? We saw Trevor Riley bounce back and forth. We saw Nate Orchard a little bit bounce back and forth. How difficult a move is that, and do you think that could be possible or something they might look at?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. For the middle linebacker position within Coach Whittingham's defensive scheme, it's tough. There's a ton of nuances, and things might have changed, since I've played, but the overall scheme is the same, and that just depending on how the offense is lining up, there's just so many different ways that a certain play call within the defense, there's going to be a 5 or 6 adjustments that a linebacker is going to have to go through and orchestrate with the defensive line and the secondary, and so. For somebody to step into that position, that's tough. It takes reps, like I talked about. It takes time to fully understand the defense. But what Coach Gary Anderson did, what Coach Witt did when I was playing was really put guys in position for success. So a guy like Naifotu, who was an awesome talent athletically, struggled with understanding those full nuances of the defense, but really put them in a spot where they could really excel and use their strengths as a pass rusher. Nye was a great pass rusher, and so we used different packages in our defense to utilize Nye and his strength and being a pass rusher. So I can see, the defense, Coach Scally, identifying what their strength is and maybe putting together a package for them where they can simplify the defense enough that they don't need to worry about all those different adjustments that could be in certain play calls, and really narrow their focus so that they can be successful in those situations. So I could foresee something like that. But for somebody who doesn't have the experience to throw them right in the middle, that's a tough ask for somebody with an experience who hasn't had those types of reps to get ready. But those specialized packages are something I could see for something like that, for those guys to come in and contribute. Well,
I'm excited for Devin Lloyd to see what he can do, because your former teammate and friend, Stevenson Sylvester, thinks he's going to be the next great. Gianni Paul did too, and I'm trying to think Cody Barton talked ravingly about him. So 3 guys from 3 different eras all have spoken well of him, so I'm excited to see Devin Lloyd. Mike, thanks for coming on today with us. Good catching up with you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you soon. That's Mike Wright.